Queen Sylvie of the multiple award-winning The Queen Sylvie Show. You want to expand and get noticed? Then come outside your box and into our world. Internet advertising has a real impact on global awareness and even sales, so let's make an impact together. Offering for a limited time advertising and sponsorship packages that excel your purpose. So contact Queen Sylvie or Smooth Tim for the exciting opportunities that awaits. Yeah.
Are you tired of driving around a dirty car? Say hello to the ultimate solution for your car. Quick Auto Detail, home, work, or wherever. Their mobile car spa will clean and shine your car anytime and anywhere. Their products are gentle on your car's paint, and they use only the highest quality materials. Book your appointment now.
Hey kids, how would you like to hear this on the screen instead of the great show you came to see? That's what you sound like. Honest. Please cooperate and do your part in keeping this theater quiet so everyone, including you, can enjoy it. Now remember, lots of adults and kids, too, paid admission to enjoy the show. We must insist on absolute quiet.
Oh, good madness!
Hello, America. It is I, your favorite President General and historical preservationist, Donald J. Trump. Today, I'm proud to announce we are restoring our heritage by bringing racism back. Remember the 50s? When America was great enough to name things after racists. Sadly, great forts like Fort Robert E. Lee were taken away by the Biden people. Woke, so woke. They renamed it after black people. Yes, black people, who, by the way, love me. But now, it's back, baby. It's Fort Robert E. Lee again. The original, far more beautiful name, the traditional name. Finally, a win for Lee. And we're not stopping there. We're changing some fort names to better, more Trumpier MAGA names like Fort David Duke. They say he's controversial. I didn't know the guy, but I say he's consistent, and that's what we need, consistency. Remember the beautiful winning Fort Hood that's now some Spanish name? Yeah, that's done. We are bringing the hoods back. English people, speaky English. And I am naming something after that wonderful detective from the OJ trial. Great cop, strong voice, incredible vocabulary. And I am proud to announce the opening of a new fort, Fort Clan. Gotta love forts. We're better to deploy our troops from when attacking American cities to preserve white heritage. Fort Clan is going to be beautiful with great bed sheets. Pete wanted them to sleep on the floor, but I said no, not my suckers and losers. We're bringing tradition back. Folks, this is only the beginning. Soon our troops will leave D.C. from Stephen Miller Airport, sponsored by Brett Bart, stop at Paula Deen Burger, and land at Laura Ingraham International, all to deploy from Fort Musk. Oh yeah, we are besties again. And this just to attack a blue state because their governor didn't kiss my ass. So, God bless the troops. Let them win decisive victories over my personal enemies, and God bless whatever version of history I say is true today.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? It's time for the final countdown. The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's rock.
Hey,
It is Smooth Tim, and thank you for dropping by and spending another Wednesday with me on Tim's Tidbits. I sincerely appreciate it. Thank you very much for doing so. Hope to make your Wednesday evening a little bit of an enjoyable one. We can look at what's going on around the world, have a few chuckles, have a few laughs, and maybe get some information that maybe we didn't know about. Anyhow, let me give a quick shout out to last week's listeners, those of you from the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Mexico, Germany, Poland, Africa, Ireland, France, and Australia. We appreciate you all from tuning in from locally here in the continental United States as well as across the seas. Really appreciate that. Thank you so very much. Anyhow, hey, let's get into tonight's show, and I may as well get right at the top. And we know that the bromance is over. That's right. It has turned into bro wars instead of a bromance between Donnie and Elon. And like any other grown adult, they know how to settle it. So they took it to Elon's platform X, and Trump took it to his platform Truth Social, and they dogged each other back and forth like grown adults. But anyhow, hey, let's take a look at what happened between Elon and Donnie. And it's hard to believe that the bromance is over.
Now, while the president sounded positive on his call with Xi Jinping, a new feud has erupted between him and Elon Musk, who was a special government employee just last week. Musk has been critical of President Trump's budget bill, calling it a, quote, abomination. The president was asked about their relationship earlier today.
Look, Elon and I had a great relationship. I don't know if we're well anymore, but I'm very disappointed because Elon knew the inner workings of this bill better than almost anybody sitting here, better than you people. He knew everything about it. He had no problem with it. All of a sudden, he had a problem.
Musk fired off a flurry of responses on X, including this, quote, without me, Trump would have lost the election. President Trump fired back on Truth Social saying, quote, Elon was wearing thin. I asked him to leave. He added that Musk, quote, just went crazy over the proposed removal of electric vehicle tax credits. Musk said that was a lie.
Yeah, so, they're back and forth. The funny one was and they made Elon take down the post that he put up on X that Trump is somehow associated within the Epstein investigation. So who knows? But, yeah, they're back and forth, and we'll see how it plays out. It's interesting, just last week, or maybe it was a little over a week ago, Elon posted that, I love President Trump, as much as any straight man could ever love another man. And now it's summertime, it is when school's out, boys. School's out, you break off those relationships so you can fire up some new summertime romances. But anyhow, Don wasn't happy about what Elon had to say about him, but we have an inside look of how that all went down.
Elon, get in here. I heard what you said.
That your bill is an abomination?
Yeah, say it to my face.
Your bill's a fucking abomination.
You know what? This is the problem with you, immigrant. They let you in, you overstay your visa, you have tons of kids, take a lot of jobs away, bring in a lot of drugs, frankly. Everybody knows it. And then all you do is criticize.
What the fuck are you going to do? Deport me?
You're a little pale for that.
That might be true. Well, yeah, because being a white South African, he's considered one that's under, the escaping a hostile country that's against white people, South Africa. Yeah, anyhow, that's insane. But, we knew it wasn't going to last. It was going to fall out sooner or later. I mean, everybody that Trump has had associations with, from Rudy Giuliani to some of these other people, and Chris Christie. And Chris Christie made a prediction about the relationship between Don and Elon, and looks like, and this happened about a month ago, he was on one of the news channels, and they were talking about Doge and how Elon's getting a lot of the press, this and that. Let's listen to what Chris Christie had to say about what's going to happen to this relationship. Remember, this is about a month old.
When does this end?
It ends when Trump believes that something has gone wrong and he needs someone to blame, and Musk becomes the person to blame. And no one knows how long that will take. You know, look, our colleague Reince Priebus, it was 5 months, and then he was gone. General Kelly, it was 18 months. You know, the people who sit at the very center with Trump have a shelf life, and that shelf life is influenced by outside events, as Speaker Johnson is finding out right now. This is a guy who's done everything Trump's asked him to do. He's essentially gotten down on one knee to Trump on a regular basis. And now he had this problem this week. You watch. Trump will run from him because that's what he does.
Yep, that's what he does. He throws everybody under the bus. It's amazing. But he still has a lot of people that are extremely loyal to him. And once all this stuff plays out with what's happening, around the world, and how the president handles it's going to be, another issue. And I know one part of the issues is when his staff members bring him his daily briefing. Apparently, Trump hates to read. So he may just flip through it with his thumb and throw it back on his desk. And then he has real no knowledge of what's going on around the world on a daily basis through the brief that he's supposed to read. And it concerns the staff enough that they have come up with an ingenious way to give him his daily brief, so maybe he'll pay attention.
Tulsi Gabbard, the nation's highest-ranking intelligence official, is considering a major overhaul of President Trump's daily briefing.
The president rarely, if ever, participates in reading his president's daily brief.
One suggestion, a video version of the president's daily brief.
Good morning, Mr. President. It's time for your morning intelligence brief.
So yeah, we'll have it in a Sesame Street format. Let Elmo give the president the daily briefing, so maybe he'll pay attention to what's happening around the world instead of what better suits him. Anyhow, speaking of what better suits him, we know coming up this weekend, I believe it's Saturday, this coming Saturday, they're going to have the parade celebrating the birthday of the Army. And it just so happens to fall on the president's birthday. And there's a lot of concern in regards to, we've never done this before. Another concern is that it happens to coincide with his birthday. Another concern is the total overall cost of this particular event. And how grand is it going to be? And also maybe some of the threats that come along with it. You say threats? Well, yeah, because if you have any idea of interrupting this parade, you're going to be in big trouble. But check it out. And let's talk about the total cost of this celebration parade of the Army's birthday.
Military tanks are already staging and rolling down the streets of Washington, D.C. ahead of this weekend's military parade. But how much is this parade actually going to cost us taxpayers? Well, we know it's the Army's 250th birthday, but it also just so happened to coincide with President Trump's 79th birthday. And he said today, if you want to use this parade as a venue to protest his immigration enforcement, you should go somewhere else.
And we're going to be celebrating big on Saturday. We're going to have a lot of, and if there's any protester who wants to come out, they will be met with very big force. By the way, for those people that want to protest, they're going to be met with very big force. And I haven't even heard about a protest, but, this is people that hate our country.
Now, you can interpret the president's words any way you want, but I thought it was important for you to hear it directly from him. Now, before we get into how much this parade is going to cost you, I want to thank my paid Facts HQ subscribers for voting for this story as the bonus this week. If you want to vote on next week's bonus story, make sure you follow these steps and become a paid subscriber. There are several other perks too. And if you don't want to be a paid subscriber, that's cool too. You can be a free subscriber and you will get access to my daily Facts HQ email, which is an excellent resource, so make sure you sign yourself up. Okay, so let's talk about the cost of this parade. First of all, you should understand that the country was always going to celebrate the incredible milestone of 250 years of the United States Army. It, of course, is important to celebrate and honor our great service members and the traditions of the Army. But this military parade was not a part of the original plan. The truth is, President Trump has wanted to have a military parade like this since his first term. Back then, when he first pushed the idea, his key advisors and DC politicians talked him out of it because of the cost associated with a parade like this and the damage that these heavy military vehicles would do to the streets and infrastructure of Washington, D.C. But this time around, those advisors are no longer in the White House. So President Trump decided that he was going to add a parade to the Army's 250th birthday celebration. The Army says the parade will feature 150 military vehicles, 50 aircrafts, flyovers, bands, 6,600 soldiers, some riding horseback, and at least one military dog. There will be a grandstand where President Trump will view the parade, and he will reportedly receive a flag from the Army Golden Knights. Now to the cost of this parade. Here's the Army Secretary talking about it just a few days ago.
A very straightforward question. We've got this big parade coming up in a little over a week. What's the budget?
25 to 40 million.
That's a pretty rough estimate for something that's going to happen in less than 10 days. That's as close as you can give us here today.
We have a bucket set aside, Senator, for any contingencies or damage that we cause. We are aspiring to zero, but we have already budgeted in case we have to reimburse anyone.
So a minimum of 25 million and somewhere around 40 is the upward estimate?
Yes, sir.
So you heard the upper end is about $40 million. And you heard the Army Secretary also say they have money set aside for damage. See, Washington, D.C. officials say having all these heavy tanks and military vehicles rolling down regular city streets could possibly cause upwards of $16 million to repair, which you just heard the Secretary say they're going to have to reimburse D.C. for. Of course, the Army Corps of Engineers has been working on this issue for the last few weeks, trying to mitigate that potential damage by placing these metal plates on the road to try and absorb some of the weight of the vehicles and protect the streets. But there's definitely going to be damage when all is said and done. Now, lots of lawmakers, including Republicans, have questioned whether this parade is a good use of taxpayer money, especially since the Trump administration has been all about reducing spending, reducing costs, and in fact, the Trump administration announced just a few months ago that they're working on cutting more than 80,000 jobs from the Department of Veterans Affairs. The cost of this parade is also a big pill to swallow for House and Senate Republicans who are actively also trying to cut billions of dollars from Medicaid and food assistance, especially since more than 1 million veterans are currently benefiting from those programs. But President Trump says it's the Army's 250th birthday and the United States is going to celebrate it, and he's going to get his military parade. He said the cost associated with it is peanuts compared to the value of doing it. And there are some who agree with that, saying military parades inspire young people to sign up and join the military. Now, whether that happens or not, or whether the cost is worth it or not, that is up to you to decide.
So what do you think? Man, I wrote a couple of those figures down. That is freaking insane. Yeah, you're talking about millions of $25 to $40 million for the parade and maybe $16 million worth of damage to the streets in D.C., all to appease the president. Because I'm sure we can celebrate 250 years. Thank you, Army, because I've had family members that have served in the Army. Thank you so very much for all your contributions to our society and to the world. But I can think that, yeah, maybe instead of spending $40 million on a parade, they could redirect that $40 million into the VA where they made the budget cuts, and maybe some of our veterans can get the health care they need. Just heard a story last week of a veteran who had having some difficulties during all this DOGE process and getting moved around and having uncertainty in the job market, and he ended up committing suicide. So thank you very much, Doge, for all you're doing for our country. Anyhow, speaking of what they're doing to our country, it seems that it is no longer acceptable to protest your viewpoint that may be in opposition to what is happening in the government, i.e., with what's going on in Israel, Gaza, with the genocide of the people that are living in Gaza, and then there's some anti-Semitic behavior going back and forth between the individuals there. But I'm sure there's going to be a few troublemakers. That's going to happen in any particular situation. I found it kind of interesting that when they were asking Speaker of the House Mike Johnson about it, and he was questioning why do they wear masks? Why are they keeping their face covered? Probably because they're getting pepper sprayed. But I propound the question to you. Why don't you ask those people who were marching in Cincinnati that I talked about last week, the white supremacists, who had their face covered? Is it illegal to have your face covered? That was the point that Mike Johnson made. Isn't it illegal to be having your face covered? Well, if it is, tell these people that are Klan members and white nationalists, when you're marching down the street, don't cover your face. Let us see who you are. But anyhow, back to the point of what's going on in L.A. when the president decides to override the governor and override the mayor and send in the troops.
Yeah, and good morning to you, Gail. The police chief saying that the National Guard staged behind me at no point since they arrived here on the ground provided assistance to the city with these protests. There is a curfew in effect. It remains in effect this morning, and it has been effective. Much calmer overnight than previous nights. The LAPD confirming dozens of people were arrested.
Small groups of protesters gathered in downtown Los Angeles were quickly broken up at the start of curfew Tuesday night with a show of force by LA police officers. Earlier, nearly 100 people were arrested, detained, and loaded onto LAPD buses for failing to disperse. The protests a reaction to President Trump's immigration crackdown.
Los Angeles was under siege until we got there. The police were unable to handle it. You can speak to the chief. He said it on television 3 nights ago. He said, this is more than we can handle.
We asked the city's police chief about coordination with the National Guard.
We don't need the National Guard, and they're not here to help us right now. They're here to facilitate what the federal agencies are doing on the immigration front.
See, I'm confused because President Trump said that they were brought in to assist with the protests.
Yeah, well, that's not our understanding.
The only National Guard troops that we have seen have been protecting federal buildings like this one. We have not seen any out on the streets, and their very presence alone has been attracting protesters like this crowd.
I see this as an unlawful invasion of California sovereignty.
National Guard soldiers have been acting as security for federal agents who posted these arrest pictures on X. Meanwhile, some of the 700 deployed Marines are being stationed and training in Orange County, more than 20 miles away.
We honor their service. We honor their bravery. But we do not want our streets militarized by our own armed forces.
The Marines are here. They are used to war zones. Are you concerned about them interfacing with protesters?
Anytime anybody comes in the city and we're not clear on what roles and responsibilities are, there's a concern. I worry for our own people.
And on the subject of the Marines, it's unclear what kind of additional training they're receiving. Meanwhile, we can tell you that the National Guard has been assisting with ICE raids in what appears to be the first of its kind widespread use of the military in such operations. The governor has asked for an immediate restraining order. Vlad, a federal judge, denied it.
So yeah, so the governor didn't ask for him to be there. The mayor didn't ask for him to be there. The chief of police didn't ask them to be there. That was just the Trump administration deciding that, yeah, we're going to send in the National Guard, and now we're going to activate the military. We'll put the Marines in there. So you got to look at what is going on. You know, it seemed that just kind of escalates everything when you have that type of show of force. When you have that type of a show of force and you have that much media coverage, you're going to have some bad actors, and those bad actors are there to get that press. And it's, you know, is it going to put a black eye to the actual core of the protest about what's happening over in the Gaza Strip? Or is it going to be something where they're going to start invoking Title IX and or martial law? And you're going to say, well, can they do that? And I don't know. Where are we today? Let's take a quick look at that whole idealism. Are we starting to lean towards a country that's segueing into martial law?
Hey everyone, good to see you. So, something pretty serious is happening right now that we all need to talk about. You might have seen the footage: armed troops on the streets of Los Angeles, military trucks downtown, and protests turning into standoffs with the National Guard. It's not a movie. This is real, and it's raising a question that's been echoing louder and louder lately. Is this the beginning of martial law in America? Now, that phrase, martial law, it sounds dramatic, even extreme. But what's going on right now has a lot of people wondering just how far the government can go and what limits, if any, are left. Here's the part that most folks don't realize yet. Even though martial law hasn't been officially declared, some of the signs we usually associate with it are already in place. Armed soldiers, emergency orders, and local officials being overruled by the federal government. So if you're sitting there wondering, is this still democracy as usual, or is something shifting? You're definitely not alone. Let's talk through what's really going on, what the laws say, and what this could mean for all of us going forward. Because this isn't just about LA. This is about the kind of country we live in and the rules that are supposed to hold everything together. Stick around. This is something every American should understand. And it makes sure you don't miss future updates. So let's start with the basics. President Trump recently ordered thousands of National Guard troops and active duty Marines into Los Angeles. We're talking 2,000 Guard members and 700 Marines, which is not a small deployment. This all came after a wave of protests broke out in response to federal immigration raids. Some of those protests turned chaotic, with reports of looting and some clashes with law enforcement. Now, Trump has been pretty clear about why he did it. He's calling the unrest a rebellion, saying local leaders like Governor Newsom and Mayor Karen Bass aren't doing enough to restore order. In his words, if federal troops hadn't stepped in, LA would have been obliterated. That's the story coming from the White House. But here's where things get tricky. California's leaders didn't ask for the troops. In fact, they told Trump not to send them. Governor Newsom is now suing the federal government, and LA's mayor says this is a deliberate overreach designed to create chaos. So you've got federal and state governments directly clashing over control, and that's where the legal and constitutional concerns start coming. You see, under normal circumstances, the National Guard is controlled by state governors. But there's a part of federal law, Title 10, Section 12406, that lets the president federalize the Guard in times of invasion, rebellion, or when the law can't be enforced through normal means. That's what Trump is using right now. But here's the catch. Legal experts are saying that Title 10 is supposed to go through the state's governor. And since Newsom didn't approve this, that raises a huge question about whether this move is even legal. And it doesn't stop there. A lot of people are asking, if this isn't martial law, then what is it? And that's a fair question, because even though the Insurrection Act hasn't been formally invoked and martial law hasn't been declared on paper, what people are seeing and feeling in LA looks and feels a lot like it. We're seeing military checkpoints, arrests, rubber bullets, and a federal presence that wasn't invited. So yeah, technically it's not martial law. But you know what's weird? That technicality doesn't matter much to people who are living through it. If you're on the street and you're being told to go home by a soldier with a rifle, you're not thinking, oh good, this is just Title 10 authority. You're thinking, why is the military telling me what to do? Whether or not this is officially martial law might not even be the point. If it feels like it, if it walks and talks like it, then maybe that's what we should really be paying attention to.
The old saying, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck. Anyhow, hey, again, I've said show after show after show, if you're not happy with what's going on, I'm a little bit dissatisfied with the way things are being handled. Make that difference this coming November. You have a voice. And, you know, there's all kinds of different things going on in Part of the problem is, apparently we're supposed to be making America great again, but unfortunately there's a trickle-down effect to some of the Make America Great Again ideas that the president is passing along, and that would be the high-cost tariffs. And those tariffs are definitely affecting products in and out of our country. And as a matter of fact, some of the biggest hits are coming to, guess what? The people that most supported President Trump, the farmers. So let's see what happens when he decides to betray the people in the farm belt and see if he can make another run for the presidency after he screwed over everybody besides Chris Christie and besides Elon Musk. And speaking of that, yeah, he's going to sell that or give away that Tesla. So he could give it to the VA again since he's cutting all those jobs, or in part of that $25-40 million for the parade, and the Tesla could go to the VA. What do you people think? In any regards, yeah, let's get back to who's taking it really hard on the chin right now, and that is the American agriculture.
America's farms are collapsing under pressure, and it's no longer just a domestic issue. It's a global crisis. Across the United States, fields are being abandoned, grain silos are overflowing, and once booming agricultural exports have come to a standstill. At the center of this chaos, a trade war that was supposed to protect American jobs, but has instead pushed rural communities to the edge of disaster. China's 125% tariff on U.S. imports has shut out key exports like soybeans, corn, pork, and dairy, devastating markets that took decades to build. Farmers are watching helplessly as foreign buyers turn to South America and beyond, cutting the U.S. out of long-term deals and forming new global alliances. While American agriculture is bleeding, countries like Brazil, Argentina, and India are stepping up to take its place. Number 1, tariffs hit the heartland. There's growing tension in America's agricultural regions, especially in states like Wisconsin, as China raises tariffs on U.S. imports to a staggering 125%. This isn't just another headline, it's a direct hit on one of the country's most vulnerable and essential industries, farming. And the timing couldn't be worse. These new tariffs strike at the very core of the U.S. export economy, particularly targeting soybeans, which are the top American farm export to China. The ripple effects are already being felt in rural communities where farming isn't just an occupation, it's a way of life. For farmers, these kinds of changes aren't something they can quickly adapt to. Unlike industries that can shift gears within months, farming operates on long, carefully mapped out timelines. Decisions about which crops to grow are made a year, sometimes even 2 years, in advance. Seeds are purchased in bulk well before planting season. Machinery is prepped, field rotation plans are locked in. So when a policy shift like this hits just before or during planting season, it creates a nightmare scenario. Even as prices collapse and markets vanish, those soybean seeds are still going into the ground because it's too late to pivot. This isn't just about one crop. It's about the structure of rural economies that depend on agriculture to survive. In places like Wisconsin, soybean farming is tightly woven into the local economy. It supports equipment dealers, seed and fertilizer suppliers, grain elevator operators, truckers, food processors, and more. When soybean prices tank, the entire ecosystem starts to crack. Farmers are not just worried about lost revenue, they're facing the reality that years of work and generational legacy could disappear with no warning. Soybeans have been a key bridge between U.S. producers and Chinese consumers for decades. China has long been the single largest buyer of American soybeans, purchasing billions of dollars worth each year to feed their massive livestock industry. But a 125% tariff effectively shuts that trade down. It makes U.S. soy uncompetitive on the global market, especially when countries like Brazil are more than willing to step in and fill the gap. And that's exactly what's happening. Brazilian soybean exporters are seizing the opportunity, securing new long-term contracts and expanding their footprint in the global supply chain.
Yep, they're stepping in and taking those. And now what are those American farmers supposed to be? Because they're signed long-term contracts. So you're talking a 5-10 year contract, that I will supply X amount of grain to you at, X amount of dollars. And, that's looking at futures. and things like that of what's going to happen with the grain. And it's not just soybean; it's corn, wheat, oats, all the product that we grow here in the United States in the Farm Belt. You know, Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, Wisconsin, Nebraska, Iowa, all that. These guys are suffering, people. Interesting if you look on the map too, and it's all a red, and look what the Republicans are doing to these people. You're supposed to be taking care of your constituents. It doesn't sound to me like you're taking very damn good care of them. And, you know, you are supposed to be taking care of everybody. And apparently, and this could almost be an asshole, but I saved a little bit because you never know where a person's head is at. And this is a borderline asshole of the week, but it has more to deal with how some people just aren't good at the job that they're doing, especially when they expect a little bit too much out of the consumer, you, who has either purchased and or utilized their services. Check this out.
There is shock today over a food delivery driver accused of reaching for his gun in a dispute over a tip.
I said to myself, it's either him or me.
Cops say it all started when a driver working for DoorDash, America's #1 food delivery service, delivered $100 worth of groceries to a home in Vancouver in Washington state. The driver claimed he was stiffed on the tip. So imagine the family's surprise when the DoorDash driver showed up the next morning while they're having breakfast and demanded he be given the cash tip he says he was promised. You can hear the driver knock. He tells the family why he's come back.
You said cash tip.
The granddad can't believe it.
Back up. Get the out of here. Call the cops. Call the cops right now.
Suddenly, a scuffle breaks out in the driveway. When did you realize he had a gun on him?
I didn't realize he had a gun on him until we both made contact.
Granddad Anthony Valino says he could feel a gun in the driver's waistband. He grabs the pistol and wrestles with the driver.
My adrenaline was just soaring through the roof.
Granddad unloads the bullets. The DoorDash driver gets in his car and drives off, but cops caught up with him. He was charged with provoking an assault. Cops say the 59-year-old driver told them he tried to pull his shirt up to show the homeowner he was armed after he was confronted.
DoorDash says what happened was unacceptable and they have a zero-tolerance policy for harassment. They also say the driver was deactivated. As for the driver, he denies any wrongdoing, saying he was the one assaulted. He has pleaded not guilty.
So you show up with a gun, show it to the person. Hey, look what I got on me. I want my tip that you promised me, and he's going to plead not guilty. I didn't have anything to do with all this. I don't know why the guy went crazy. Oh, Lord, 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 it is such an interesting world we live in. And I do have a interesting little what the fuck moment. And to maybe put a smile on your face, this what the fuck moment is probably more of what a immature adult would do rather than anything else. Check this out, and you just have to sit back and look at this husband and wife team and say, really? What the fuck?
Really? You're so immature.
No. Watch. Whoops.
Oh. Anyhow, that was just stupid. I can't, remember people doing that when I was growing up, just immature kids. And it's like, let's go light some farts. It's like, yeah, you go ahead and do that. Go right ahead and do that. Anyhow, hey, let's move on to the last part of the show before we get on out of here. And we're going to see who gets our Asshole of the Week award. And this week's Asshole of the Week goes to a MAGA supporter who's going to show us all what is the best way to be environmentally conscious and still be able to charge your cell phone. Check us out.
Fill it up, it's about 160, and I get about 400 miles on the tank. So
It's a lot.
So you got this huge truck here, and it's running right now, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to charge my phone.
So you're running the truck to charge the phone?
Yeah.
But you're concerned about gas prices?
Well, I'm not really concerned. It's one of those things you got to have it. So, but it'd be nice.
Even if you got to run the truck to charge the phone?
Yeah.
There's some logic for you, folks. Yep, there's some MAGA logic for you. Price of gas is a bitch, and I hate paying that, but I got to leave my truck running because I got to charge my cell phone. Could get one of those portable batteries and save a whole lot of money, but hey, that's thinking ahead. I don't expect he thinks more than just the moment. But in any regards, hey, we are out of here, and I do appreciate y'all spending a little bit of time with me here on Tim's Tidbits. And I hope you enjoyed a little of the information that I shared with you this evening. And just remember, hey, if you want to make a difference with what's going on, or you're concerned about what's going on, get up and do something this coming November. Anyhow, hey, we are out of here. I will see you next week, and until then, adios. Have a great weekend. Bye now.
It's amazing. Some people still think Donald Trump knows how to negotiate, that he's a deal maker. But really, he's a chicken. Wall Street figured it out. When Trump goes hard on something, just bet on the dip. Wait for Trump to blink. Then cash in on the rebound. Same trade every time. It's the taco trade, because Trump always chickens out. He talks a big game on tariffs, then backs down. Over and over. He'll hurt American businesses, farms, and workers playing his games. But every time it comes down to it, he chickens out. Like a baby. Like a dog. Every single time. Trump always chickens out. He's not a deal maker. He's not a negotiator. He's a taco.